Departmental Plans came in for a bit of stick in Tynwald last week, but are they the meaningless drivel that John Rimmington once famously described his department's plan as about 20 years ago? The Department of Education's was one of the plans criticised in Tynwald, so we find out shortly what Minister Edge made of the criticism. We also hear about a rather disturbing case of someone with deep pockets using the legal system to financially ruin one of Stu Peter's constituents. But first, Speaker Watterson, who was far from impressed with the education and Manx Care plans. You certainly pulled no punches when it came to the Department of Education's plan and indeed the Manx Care annual report. What were your concerns?
Well, I think from the Island plan down, I'm concerned that government seems to fail to put good plans together. It doesn't have objectives that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. It uses KPIs that are not necessarily directly linked back to the objective that's stated. And they use the writing of plans and strategies as a sort of way, as a proxy for achievement. But of course, that means nothing to the man in the street. So I think that there is an improvement generally needed in these plans in terms of what departments are actually going to deliver in real terms, rather than just creating paper, which seems to be what's done at the moment. So hence my comment that if you want to put something off for a year, you write a plan. If you want to put it off for the whole administration, write a strategy.
One of the best lines I heard in the whole of the Tynwald sitting. Loads of people, officers working for the department, spend an awful lot of their time responding to these exacting requirements. You know, there is a claim that Tynwald asked for these reports. I'm not sure how much of the detail that is coming forward was specifically asked for by Tynwald, but do you not see that to a certain extent this is it's a Tynwald request, and all the departments are doing are delivering what Tynwald asked for?
Well, worse than that, I think these are strategic priorities set by the government itself, that the government departments then don't seem to be able to evidence actual real change, real delivery on the ground. So when they're not evidencing that, instead of saying, I'm sorry, we haven't done it, and saying, well, we'll produce a report or a plan to say how we're going to get there, or instead of delivering on the actual objective that they've been set, they say, well, no, but we've superseded that with a different objective. It's just not demonstrating the delivery of what government itself has set out to achieve. So I think to blame Tynwald for that would be misdirected energy.
And surely, to goodness, ministers wouldn't do things like that.
Well, all I can say is that the evidence seems otherwise, and we've seen a few department plans come forward, and each one of them has fallen for the same old problems in terms of, as I say, KPIs that don't really match back to what they're trying to achieve, objectives that aren't really measurable, woolly sort of outcomes, and it's been from the Island plan down. So this is something the government really needs to get its act together, because until it sort of sets itself some slightly tighter framework to operate within, it's not going to deliver the energy, the ambition, and it's not going to deliver what government itself has set out to achieve.
And how does this actually impact, for example, on Manx Care? Clearly, Manx Care is still, to a certain extent, in its infancy. How does getting the report writing right improve the way in which Manx Care can, hopefully anyway, deliver better services, health services for the Manx public?
It's drawing that straight line from the objective that's been set, the political objective that's been set around specific target, and getting that evidenced in data at the end of the day. Drawing a very straight line between one and the other showed that we were looking to reduce A&E waiting times. So however that's gone about, you reduce it from whatever it is to whatever you want it to be. And we're just not seeing that. If anything, in that particular example, it went up, and yet the department said that it was doing okay, it got an amber rating rather than a red rating. So it's that clarity of direction, that clarity of purpose that, in fairness, in many areas government has provided that's not been delivered on the ground, and in other cases there are a bit of that fudge where government hasn't quite worked out what it wants.
Are you confident that the new relationship with the department doing the regulation and the policy, and Manx Care doing the delivery, is actually going to provide the promised improvements in Manx healthcare delivery that were initially envisaged?
No. What I said to that is there's no evidence of success, and I think that's where I leave it. There were several areas at the end there where I said at the moment, if this is happening, I'm just not seeing it. So no, I don't have a particular faith at the moment that that is happening. There's just not enough evidence of success.
That was Speaker of the House of Keys, Ewan Watterson. Education Minister Julie Edge was a little stung by the criticism, but had she been as positive as she could have been in the debate? One of the kind of mild criticisms was that you didn't perhaps make as much of the positive that you should have in relation to sorting out or getting a resolution at least to the industrial relation problem that you've got. Chris Thomas mentioned you're rebuilding trust and confidence in the department. These are things that perhaps you should have been crowing about.
Yes, certainly, but I think we've just got to move forward and focus on what else needs to be done. There are major challenges in the department, but yes, I am pleased, and I'm pleased for all of our students and parents that we have got stability back in our schools, and our teachers are back with full working time agreements in place now, and that's a significant change. But I'm pleased that we've been able to bridge all the problems that were there, and we've come through them. And as I said on the floor today, there is still one action by one union still in place, and that's that their staff that are in that union will only do one lunchtime duty per week. But we're managing that. So certainly clubs are back on for our students. They're getting that extracurricular and a full education experience, which I'm really pleased for our students, and it helps families plan better as well. So, it is a massive change, because the dispute's been going on for years, eight years, long before I was in the department. So to actually resolve it and ensure that we've got good pay and conditions for our staff was important to me, and we've succeeded in that. Michelle
Hayward did lay into you a little bit, certainly laid into the department in relation to GCSE results, which she described as the worst for a decade, the COVID generation being let down by the department, important to offer a good system if we want to attract people over to the island, and the results certainly don't appear to show that, and she went on to say that the best she could expect from the department is that you might aim to be average. How do you respond to those charges? Certainly not the vision of myself or the department. Our vision is to make sure everybody gets an excellent opportunity throughout their education, and they get the best outcomes and progress throughout that education. Certainly some members don't understand our examination system, and it's quite clear when comments like that are made on the floor, they've not understood where the data comes from. It's purely our secondary schools data, whereas the UK, who they like to compare us with, the other island, is all students sit in GCSE examinations. We have good relationships with the universities, and as I said in the debate today, I'm not aware of any students that didn't go to the destination of choice from a university point of view with their examination results. Yes, we have had COVID. Yes, we've had action, short of strike action in our schools, and there was an expectation across all jurisdictions this year when we went back to that full examination settings and conditions, that results would be different, and we've certainly seen that. But is there room for improvement? There's always room for improvement in education. However, every cohort is different, every group of students going through is different, and we just need to be able to maximise and give them the best opportunity, and that's through excellent leadership, excellent teaching in our schools, and introducing the quality assurance framework and external validation is a step forward in that direction to make sure that we are monitoring our schools which hasn't happened for a number of years. So hopefully we're now on that road to full recovery in education, to an excellent education system that we can be proud of again, and certainly
our education system on the island, I believe, stands well up against any others for the budget that we receive, and there's challenges around that, and certainly from the point of view of any additional budget around catch-up, as I explained in the debate today, we are focusing on giving every child the best outcome when they're in our school and they're getting the support. So we've put additional support into our schools, whether that's to help people with literacy or numeracy. That support has been focused into our schools direct, rather than doing catch-up sessions for a few. We're focusing on all of our students and making sure that opportunity is there in school, in the classrooms.
So you don't feel then that you've let down this COVID generation, as Michelle Haywood was suggesting?
No, I think actually all students during COVID have had a difficult time, whether that's with education or throughout society and life. Everybody's had different experiences. Certainly within our schools, we've done our best to get everything back to normal, but then we did have the challenges around the actions short of strike action, and my key aim was to get stability back in our schools and make them places that are safe, secure, well funded, which can be a challenge, and that the curriculum is the right design to deliver outcomes for individuals. And certainly I talked about the pathways and the skills framework. That's there, published now on our website, and that shows you that you don't have to go to university to be able to get a degree. There are other pathways and options and opportunity for all of our students, and destinations data shows that an awful lot of our students leaving school at A-level are staying on Ireland and going into the workplace. So I think there's a lot of changes since COVID, and people are making different decisions, and investment is key in education for the future for the island.
And of course, what we absolutely need, certainly what your government is telling us that we need, is more people actually on the island to be able to fill the various skills shortages that exist across the island at the moment. So presumably it's quite a good thing that if students choose to stay on the island and perhaps train with companies.
Yeah, and I've always believed in training on the job. If you can get an opportunity in a company and they're prepared to invest in you, you'll be a good employee for them because you've put some investment into them, and I think that's key. And the skills board is certainly focusing on that with obviously we've got industry involved and data around that, and certainly apprenticeships, ensuring that if a student would like to do an apprenticeship, that opportunity is there. But the current system, you do have to have an employer to sponsor you through your place. And I know there was comment with regards to apprenticeship pay. Well, there's an expectation that pay should be made up by the person employing you, because they are getting the services of you in their workplace, and you'll be that future success of their business as well. But I feel that we've got great opportunity on the island, and whilst we've got skills shortages, we could be reskilling people, changing focus. If you've got a degree, we are doing a programme in education that if you've got a degree in a subject that could be transferred into becoming a teacher, we're doing that already. We've got 5 people went through the training last year. We've got another 5 or 6 possibly this year doing that, so that they can become teachers on Ireland with a qualification through one of the universities. So we're doing everything we can to attract people to stay on the island or change skills and upskill. But the more people that come to the island gives us challenges within our school space as well. So development and making sure we take that strategic approach to all of our school estate is the right thing to do as well.
One of the reasons perhaps that Michelle Haywood and indeed the other 3 Southern members are keen to keep you on your toes is the fact that we still await a new Castle Rushen High School, or a replacement for the existing building, which large parts of which date back to the Second World War. You had some positive words about that in what you said in the debate, but there was nothing in the actual report itself, in the department plan.
So obviously it's a capital scheme. Yes, we require a school, but it's across government. It's an island plan commitment, actually, the Castle Rushen High School. With regards to it not being directly in our plan, certainly capital works around our schools is in the plan. We've recently had acknowledgement that we've got the funding to go to design stage D1. You'll know, Phil, from your experience in here, sometimes when you're doing a report, it's prepared 2 or 3 months earlier. So if you haven't got that latest up-to-date information, that's why I made sure it was in my speech today, that it was covered off there. Certainly, Castle Rushen High School's been talked about a long years, long before I got here, but now we can see a full site plan of what's possible on that site, and we had to make sure the secondary school was in the right place to maximise that site for the future opportunities in the south.
And other points that were made, and I think the speaker, Mr. Watterson, led this particular charge, were in relation to the report itself. I think, quoting some of what the speaker said, a lot of the report seemed meaningless. There were non-smart objectives, that Tynwald needed to be informed when the department is moving goalposts, I think was a direct quote from him. Is it fair to say that if you aren't a politician or indeed an officer in the department, it's really quite difficult to follow from the plan what exactly is going on?
Yeah, so obviously all the tasks that we've set out, or we did the previous year, and I did print out for all honourable members the tasks that were completed last year. And my honourable colleague in council, Mr. Crane, who's a department member, did highlight that there are measurable targets there. The difference with the annual plans and department plans that come forward to Tynwald requested that annual department plans came to Tynwald. They are only received, they're not actually approved, they're just received, and that's the process that was agreed by Tynwald, so we're adhering to that. Could it be improved? I'm sure anything that's delivered can always be improved, but we've got a department strategic plan, but annually we're having to pull out from that and deliver a departmental plan for Tynwald through that annual process. And then, of course, we've got the island plan as well. So our strategic plan, island plan, really are the key documents for the department, but then we're going down to this more operational level. It's an operational plan, really. This is what will be delivered this year, and it's got target dates, and there has been some slippage, but we won't be the only department to have slippage due to all the challenges that come along that are unexpected, and that's the education environment, and we have to react to that to keep education safe, secure for our students, and deliver excellent education, which I believe the staff work really hard to do that. And I've always invited all honourable members, if they can criticise the department, please come down and we'll show you exactly what's happening. Not many members take me up on that.
That was Education Minister Julie Edge, MHK. Stu Peter's MHK brought the petition of Mark Cleater to Tynwald for consideration and succeeded at least in getting the matter of vexatious litigation sent to the Tynwald Justice Committee for further consideration. You successfully managed to move a motion relating to the petition of Mark Cleater. Can you tell us a little bit about why you were motivated to pick the petition up and then to move it?
Sure. Mark Cleater is a constituent of mine, and obviously I look at any constituent issues with a view to helping if I can. And also I've known Mark for a number of years, and I know he's a really decent guy. So when I was first elected, he made me aware of the problems that he'd been having with the legal system. And, the whole thing is, how can you put it, certainly very unfortunate, but he's been left trying to protect his own property against somebody who has come at him using adverse possession laws. He's ended up with huge legal bills that an ordinary working person can't possibly afford to pay, and is no better off. In fact, he's worse off because his house and the land that was in dispute have both been arrested by the person who's beaten him in court.
And that is quite shocking for many people to hear, that effectively a case can be brought against you as a landowner. You own a particular piece of land or a house or whatever it may be, and someone can just put in a claim against that, and in fighting to get your property back, you can lose the lot.
Well, that's the worry, Phil, because, I've not been to your farm, but say I decided that I was going to pinch one of your fields. I could come down and say, I know that you've not used that field for 21 years or whatever, and I believe that I've got a right to use it because I walked my dog on it once. And, any normal person would say, oh, behave yourself. That's, completely irrational. That could never happen. But it does happen. If you've got bottomless pockets to pay lawyers and to weaponise the legal system, you can do these things, and that is what I'm trying to address. And this isn't the answer. It's maybe a tool in the arsenal for the legal system and the courts to be able to use. But we all have this, and I have to admit, it is a naive hope that the courts look at a situation between two people who've fallen out about something, and they come up with the moral answer to it, the moral solution to it. But we've got to remember that the law's the law, and they're there to apply and interpret the law, and so moral judgments are pretty worthless in those circumstances. And there are certain people in the Isle of Man who are very, very good at using the law to their benefit.
So in relation to the specifics then, because of course your motion was to adopt a certain bit of legislation, whereas it was amended by the Minister for Home Affairs, so that a committee that you also sit on has to now consider and then report back, I presume.
Yeah, Mark Cleater's petition was that we improve the situation to help protect people who are in the situation that he's in. And that was what I picked up, and that's what I proposed today, effectively, that we come up with some system to improve things and maybe introduce vexatious litigation legislation. There's also a Contempt of Court Act that I think is being worked on by the AG's office at the moment. There are the rules of the court in the UK that we can draw from. So, there are various mechanisms. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal expert, so how best to do it is kind of beyond me, but that's what the committee is now being asked to look into. So I'm looking forward to that very much.
And as for Mark Cleater himself, effectively, this will come as little real comfort, because he's still left in the position that he was brought into by the legislation being in the condition that it currently is.
That's the problem. None of this. And I think that Mark Cleater is very brave, and that's been registered in Tynwald previously, because this whole thing about adverse possession was looked at by the Constitutional, Legal Affairs and Justice Committee in the last administration, and his evidence in that was welcomed by Tynwald and debated afterwards, and a large number of members, I think, were very empathetic towards this situation. But unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do about it. The law's the law. The Deemsters have made the decisions, and we kind of, that's where we are. And there's rule one of being a politician is that you don't try and get in the way of the legal process.
That was Stu Peter's MHK telling the rather disturbing tale of how his constituent has had his property arrested by the courts due to him trying to defend his rights over his own property in the courts. It's quite shocking to hear how this can happen. And what about the departmental plans? Are they as bad as Watterson makes out? Do they justify the huge amount of officer time spent preparing and reviewing them?